I'm going to talk about offbeat ways to really grow your business. And I've already got a warm welcome, but I'm the co-founder of Content Marketer.io, Narrow, and I've done a lot of different things. But really what I'm most proud of is using growth hacks in the last 2 years to build these 4 businesses. When I worked at .com, I served as a VP of marketing, and I've helped them grow from pretty much about 100 customers to 15,000. And we use growth hacking in a very different way. We use it to identify channels. So we used growth hacks to figure out what the core channels for growth and sustainable growth are. So for that company, it was social advertising, think Facebook ads, inbound marketing, word of mouth. For Content Marketer, 5,000 customers, been around for a little under a year live. We actually had a few hundred customers before we even went live. And we did this using inbound marketing, hence Content Marketer. Community, we actually built a community of marketers that are advocating the product and just in the cause alone, and word of mouth and snarky responses. So yes, snarky responses is a whole channel of customers for us. I'll explain it a little later what that actually is. And Narrow, about 1,000 customers using some of the tactics mentioned here, and Q, 10,000 users, again, using word of mouth community to really advocate that cause, and influencer marketing. So here's an example of a snarky response. Anyone in PR, I apologize. It will be kind of offensive. I get a lot of PR pitches because I write for Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, and a lot of other places. So people think I want to write about their companies. I don't really do that. They're probably reaching the wrong person. But I get around 20 emails a day asking people, or people asking me, hey, can you write about my company? We're doing this, big press release, yada, yada, yada. They're very, very interesting. I get, again, a lot of these pitches. So I started responding back with just like some attitude. Like, hey, does this actually work? Your pitch sucks. This is one of the worst ones I've gotten. Like this big red spam button kind of threw me off. It's like, I don't know if I want that in my email, big red spam button. But anyways, I started responding back saying, hey, your pitch sucks. Check out my software. It has better templates. You should use it because our customers at Content Marketer.io are PR as well. So again, that ended up driving about 3 new customers a day. Not scalable at all. Definitely not on purpose. But if you think about it, that's 90 customers a month doing just responding with attitude to people. And so that to me is growth hacking. It's leveraging an opportunity you have. But what I'm going to talk about today is really defining what growth hacking is and what growth hacking isn't. Going into my simple framework of how I actually go through kind of my 7-step process for growth hacking. And then we're going to get into literally 13 growth tactics to start you could start today. So let's just jump into it because I have a lot to cover. So first and foremost, growth hacking is nothing but a mindset. It's fast-paced. It's a no BS, data-driven approach to really growing and sustainably growing your company. It is not just marketing. It's not just one thing. It's everything you can do at your company today to grow your business. That means it's sales, it's marketing, it's customer support, it's customer delight, it's success, it's leveraging your product team, your development team, your user experience. All of this has a play on growth. So it's not just marketing. And that's a big, big, important thing to remember. This is what a normal funnel looks like. Everybody has one. And at Flip My Funnel, it's probably different, right? It might be inverted. But at the end of the day, you have a funnel, and you probably have metrics. And you probably have areas where there are bottlenecks or areas where there are weaknesses, right? You might have a problem with awareness, conversion. You might not have very loyal customers, hopefully not. Or your customers might not be advocates. But at the end of the day, you have some sort of funnel. So the simple framework I like to use is, first and foremost, put some numbers on your funnel. Figure out where your weaknesses are and your problems. And then define some goals to really figure out what you want to do and to improve that. Like, I want to increase my conversion rate. I want to get more top of the funnel. My conversion rate good. I need more top of the funnel. Or let's say your problem really is you have no word of mouth going on. So let's figure that out. So that's step 1. Step 2 is brainstorm ideas of how you can solve those problems. You might be doing this in a month interval, weeks, even a quarter or a year. It doesn't matter what the interval is, but you want to brainstorm ideas, and everything under the sun goes at this point. Then it's back to reality. You never want to execute whatever ideas you come up with on the fly. You want to go through this process so that you're only executing the most impactful things. It's now going back to reality is identify resources, what you can actually execute today or in a reasonable time with reasonable budgets and what you can actually do. Then prioritize based off of really what's going to move the needle, what's going to take the least time, and start to execute. You might need 30, 60, 90 days to collect data, but you want to collect that data, measure, throw out the stuff that doesn't work, and continue on with the stuff that does work. My success rate with growth hacking is around 70% failure rate. So be prepared to fail. You are going to fail, but with this kind of framework, you will fail fast. And keep in mind, if you're focusing on multiple goals, make sure that they're not interrupting each other. Don't focus on awareness and conversion. That might skew the conversion rate. Focus on awareness and maybe advocacy. But there's a link here to my framework that I use, and it's actually live numbers from what we used at Narrow last year. And so the simple thing on how to actually prioritize, if you're a startup, I'm talking Series A or earlier, think about this. Highest impact, least effort, because you don't have much time. You probably only want to focus on the 3 to 5 things that really move that needle. For everyone else, prioritize based off the highest potential gain, because you can invest in potential gains, but that takes the least time to implement. And larger companies may have more meetings, may have a bigger team, so they need a little bit more runway to actually organize and implement their ideas. Now we're going to go straight into these growth tactics. I coined this term tactics, maybe not, but I'm going with it. So first and foremost, we talked a lot in the previous presentation on reviews and how that adds trust. I'm going to talk about an NPS survey and how you can get reviews from there. So there's 2 good ways, in my opinion, to get the best success rate or response rate from NPS. One is emailing your customers, and regularly. Typically 90 days is a good time frame, and I don't like to email people until about 60 days when you get the initial churn rate or kind of some time has passed so they're familiar with your product. The second way, and my favorite way, which is actually in-app. It's a little bit more in your face, but it gets a lot higher response rate. It's a few companies, but what you essentially can do is the 9s and 10s, anyone that responds with a 9 and 10, those are the promoters. Those people are already probably telling their friends, their family, other people around them and referring you business or sharing your brand. They probably love you already. Engage them and ask them for a share, maybe on social media. Ask them for a review on, let's say, a directory. Ask them for a review on the App Store if you have a mobile app. Ask them to see if they want to join your referral program. These guys are the most active people. The 1s through 8, they probably don't have the best experience with you. Yes, there's a little bit of people that are okay, they're passive with your product, but that to me means they're not promoters, and I don't want to engage them to, hey, tell your friend, because they might not have the best thing to say. They likely have bugs or issues. Maybe it's situational, that exact moment when you ask them, they had a glitch, site was down, whatever it is, but go and send those straight to customer support and fix their problems. So the NPS survey here doesn't actually have anything to do with the NPS score. It's just solving people who have a problem and their issues and communicating with them. And then the 9s and 10s, getting them to refer you new business or helping you somehow. Ask Nicely has a really great, easy setup to get testimonials. So when you ask for an NPS, or when you ask the NPS survey and people leave a comment, you can essentially, they will set up a testimonial page for you, and you can click approve, disapprove, and bam, you have comments, or you have testimonials from your comments. So really quick, easy way to do it. Next is handwritten thank you cards. The world of internet businesses and software has gone so kind of one way that people forgot there's offline, there's real life. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always on my phone looking down. I barely look up these days, unless I'm crossing the street, and even then maybe. But handwritten thank you cards are a great way to engage your customers and delight your customers and really get a lasting impression, not just with your product, your service, but also your brand and your company. It's really important. A service called MailLift can do this for you for a few bucks. Super easy to implement. At wheniwork.com, when I was there, we had a 17% share rate of people who signed up and shared their experience with When I Work, and that contributed to the word of mouth that grew that company. And that was all thanks to a thank you card, because every one of our new customers got a handwritten thank you card, and we A/B tested real-life handwritten thank you cards with different call to actions for different asks. So the best one was sharing on Facebook, because that was the least threatening, instant gratification, and then we followed up with sending them a t-shirt, even gratifying them more. The next thing is secondary SEO. We all know SEO takes forever. I started off my career as an SEO, so it's kind of crappy to see it go from like a few months to a few years to get results. But there's secondary SEO, and this might not be a huge impact on your business, but it's leveraging an opportunity that exists. So right now, there's blog posts, there's core rankings, there's review sites that are ranking for various keywords. On the left-hand side here, I have search results for the keyword content marketing tools. There's a lot of blog posts. So when I launched Content Marketer.io, what I did was I just found the top 10 to 20 sites or articles that ranked for keywords and essentially comment on them. On the right-hand side, there's a comment. The key here is not to just be like, check out my software, blah, 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 and promote yourself. It's to contribute, add value. That ended up leading to about 513 new trials to the business. And the trial amount actually happened within a month. So quick SEO win. The second SEO win here is using Quora. So I actually did this last Friday just to prove a point that you could instantly get this. The number of customers we got from this hack here was 3. 15 visitors, 3 customers, took 5 minutes. So what it is with our new product, Connector, which is from Content Marketer, we help people do cold emails. And so essentially, I Googled cold email tools, cold email software. I found one that Quora was ranking number 1 for. So I figured, let's just answer it. I had my good friend, who happens to be an SDR, who does a lot of cold emails, try out Connector. He had a good experience. So I was like, hey, can you just leave your experience as an answer? And immediately, we started getting traffic. And we did a little bit of promotion, but got 121 views in a matter of days. And it will just continue to grow as it starts to get rankings. The next tactic is really creating a community. This is not something that's going to happen in a day or two. This thing takes time. On the left-hand side, I have Narrow's community. We have Narrow. There's 3 people involved in the company. Very, very bootstrap, no funding, but we have 1,000 customers, so we need to support them. We can't. We answer support tickets ourselves, and so we built this Facebook group to really just answer support tickets. But what ended up happening is our customers went on there and they started talking to each other. And I use it as a testing bed to ask our customers, hey, what do you think about this new feature? What do you think about this? So our 145 support group turned into a advocacy group, a beta testing group, where I could just throw things at the wall and they would give me feedback without really much repercussions. On the right-hand side, I have a small business community that wheniwork.com created. And it quickly turned into about 700 people in a matter of 3 months. And all we do there is just share small business related articles. And the great thing about community, and the key thing is you're not just talking to one-to-one to customers, you are talking to your customers, they're talking to you, and they're talking to each other. And that talking to each other is really what creates a great community. Another part of community is to really build relationships, because people buy from people. At the end of the day, behind a company, behind a website, there's people. Behind your customers and behind their credit card and their growth and the conversion rate, there's people. So don't forget about the relationship between people. Last year, before launching Content Marketer.io, I started throwing dinners to really understand my audience. I've been selling. I'm a marketer. I used to run a marketing agency. I started another one, and I know marketers. So I'm selling to one audience. I want to figure out more about them, what they like, what they don't, and I wanted to connect with people, so I threw dinners. Everywhere I spoke at or everywhere I traveled for a conference, I just organized a quick dinner, reached out to a bunch of people, invited them together, and this was great because now I met 200 people over 15 cities, and essentially that was my community. That was the start of a Slack group, a couple Slack groups I created, but specifically one Slack group is where we share everything we know with each other. So we all become smarter, but it's also a way for us to communicate with each other. And the great thing about this is this example is the core hack I showed in previous slides earlier. So I figured out this hack, and I just told everyone I knew. And again, marketing to marketers, the great thing is when you share information, they give you the credit, and that creates buzz, and you end up getting traffic and more customers because of it. The next tactic is really going into more personalized retargeting. So everyone knows about, you go to your website, you get pixeled, you get tracked and retargeted and marketed everywhere else you go. But with personalized and survey-based retargeting, using a company called Marketizator, you survey the audience when they visit your site, and you ask them what they're interested in. Now, you don't have to be as obnoxious as this big pop-up. You can do on the right-hand side, maybe a couple sessions. But essentially, whatever they answer, it saves that in that segment, and you can then remarket to them with things they may be interested in, or at least a category. And you can take this really, really far, all the way down to a product, and even further and more granular as there is intent beyond that. So next program is, or the next tactic is referral program. So with the referral program, it's really hard to get people into a referral program. The software, the functionality of a great referral program isn't actually the hurdle. It's getting people in the program and then using the program to actually spread the word. It's that ghost town that really is the hard part, not getting people in. Everyone wants to join it, but no one wants to actually take action. So the way to test this is, and we did this at Narrow, so this is an example at Narrow. We use Intercom, and I wanted to minimize the development resources or any implementation. So all I did was I set a message and said, hey, do you love Narrow? Share it. Do you love Narrow? Would you be interested in our affiliate program? Would you be interested in our referral program? I asked all these different questions, and what ended up getting a response. Now, people still responded, but the best response was tweeting it. So it makes sense because it's a Twitter platform, so people would tweet it, very low friction. But I tested it with that on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is what we actually ended up rolling out. So in our dashboard, there's love Narrow, share it. And that actually, about 6% of people share it within the first 60 days of signing up. So it works really, really well. We didn't end up building a referral program because, frankly, no one wanted to join. And so we moved on. But people were willing to share it. The next tactic is really about cold emails, but really intelligent cold emails. So instead of just sending out the 7-part email over the course of 3 weeks with a crazy 4 or 5 day email where it says, did you get hit by a bus or a giraffe, escape the zoo or whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. There's those crazy emails that get your attention and you just say yes or no and respond. But how about you get their attention on social media first? Get your list, and if you have an email list you're going to email, cold email list, expand it, enrich the list with their social profiles, engage that audience on social media first, and then cold email. And instead of the 7-part, 5-part email, do a 3-part email. Whatever you're pitching, or even better, pitch with value. So lead, instead of selling your product, lead with value and lead with, I'm a marketer, so I lead with content marketing or educational information that provides value to the end user, and yeah, a little plug, and sell on the later emails. Then, that way, what you end up getting is people clicking on these resources. And then what you can do is retarget them. And again, you still want to retarget with value. I like to lead with value, 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 and when they are impressed or have a trust with my brand, they're going to buy just naturally. So I don't measure the conversion rate based off of open rates, click-through rates, because that doesn't tell you how pissed off that person is receiving an email from you the 7th time. And no number is going to tell me that information. No metric's going to tell me that. The next thing is Facebook ads. So an easy way to test out headlines of a landing page or what type of headlines will work best is actually to do it on Facebook ads. Because you can get data in about a day or two, and what you're measuring on is essentially the click-through rate. So the higher the click-through rate, that means it resonated more with people. Then you can actually test on your website. And what it does is it ends up saving me time on A/B testing, because A/B testing on a website typically takes a few days, weeks, months, depending on how much traffic you have. And it's usually never within a 24-hour period. With this, you could probably get results in 24 hours. The next thing is asking your customers what they came to your website for and turning those into headlines. and turning that exact question or their answers into a headline. So at wheniwork.com, what we did was we asked our customers or visitors to the website a few questions using Qualaroo as a survey, kind of prop up on the bottom right. We asked to describe our product or service in one sentence. We asked, what did you come to this website to do? Because When I Work is a scheduling software. Scheduling your calendar events versus scheduling your employees are very, very different, so people get confused. So anyways, we're the latter. And we asked people, what's your biggest problem with scheduling right now? What we ended up finding was that last question we asked, people were like, this is too complicated, scheduling is too complicated, it takes too much time, there's a lot of headache, blah, blah, blah. And we pretty much turned the most common responses into the headline. We inverted it, so most people are saying scheduling takes too long. So our headline is schedule next week in minutes. And that converts way better than anything else for us. All right, so there's two things you can do with live chat. One is you can actually increase the number of leads you get. I'll get to that in a second. But the second thing is increase your conversion rate. So during a checkout process or during transaction, when you're asking people to fork out money, you can ask them, if you prompt live chat when they have the most concerns and you need the kind of biggest friction point to go over that biggest friction point, prompt live chat. Usually on the pricing page, anytime during the checkout flow, and don't just put it up immediately, put a delay. Start with 10 seconds and kind of go up and down depending on what works. You don't want to get the live chat in their face when they're actually going to go through it. So if they're going to be on the site for 20, 30 seconds, that's when you prompt it up. So definitely give that a try. The next thing really is increasing leads with live chat. So there's a company called Lead Chat, and it's a managed service. And what they do is they optimize your live chat, and they actually man your live chat to specifically give you leads. And so what they do is they figure out when, again, with your analytics and data, they figure out when the average person converts. Let's say it's 30 seconds, and they'll prompt something like a live chat 3 to 5 seconds afterwards. So they skip the people that normally would convert and only get the people that are uncertain. And that could be 1%, it could be 5% of people. And they optimize from there. And their live chat team is solely just getting leads and scheduling demos for your sales team. So check it out. It's worked really, really well for us. And especially if you have a high contract value or you're selling enterprise software, it's a great resource, and it's fairly inexpensive. The next thing is thanking your customers. So I got this email from Buffer a few days ago, and Buffer is a great example of a company that's super transparent, very, very humanized marketing. This is a receipt for a payment I sent. And most of the email here is nothing to do with my receipt. It just is one line or two lines that say, you paid $10 on this date. They're actually just thanking me. It says, thank you for your payment. You are making Buffer possible. And if I didn't get a chance to screenshot the rest of this email, but if you scroll down, it's a picture of their team, their remote teams when they get together every once in a while. And it's also a story, their latest kind of update about their company. And it's great because I am now a fan of Buffer. Outside of what their software does, thanking me is what I remember when I pay them. So it makes me psychologically feel good when I pay them money. So it works. And we try this at wheniwork.com, and the same thing works. People responded to receipts, and we're starting conversations. And the same thing happens to Buffer. So definitely thank your customers. And it doesn't have to be this way, but some way. The next thing is to create, as a content marketer, I like creating things that are of value and building resources. We created at When I Work resources, ebooks, tools to really capture our customers and give them more value. One of the biggest problems we had was that no one really looks for scheduling software. No one knows that they need it, but there's a lot of small businesses out there that need it. So what we started doing is we started solving problems that are adjacent to our industry, but it still tackles the same audience. And that worked really, really well. And we ended up building a 750,000 monthly uniques blog and kind of resource sections just through content marketing. Far greater than any SEO. The last thing is trolling events. So it's Austin, so I'm going to set up something with Austin. I trolled South by Southwest last year, and I set this ad up, and it says, while you're waiting in line for free food, I'm growing my business. And the last kind of nudge on the, before I leave you, it says, now isn't this better than a free hot dog? So I ended up getting traffic for about $0.01 because it was hyper-targeted only to during the technology section and only on the day people were leaving back to the airport. So it was kind of funny, kind of good timing because people waited in line for a long-ass time for free food. So this ended up getting featured on 5 marketing publications, which then drove me leads. The initial traffic didn't do anything, but the last stuff did. And so be crazy, but trolling events, and that's what Narrow does as well. Right now, anyone that's tweeting Flip My Funnel, I'm following all of them, all of you guys here. Hopefully you're tweeting this. And that's it. My new obsession is Snapchat, so if you want to follow me on Snapchat, snap at me. And do we have time for questions?
We have a few minutes.
Okay. Cool. Anyone have any questions? I think you're supposed to go up to the mic. No. Yeah. You can just say it. I'll repeat it.
All right. So the question on tackling social first before typical email communication.
Yeah.
What tactics do you found successful to get people moving as opposed to just spamming them with a social message? How do you treat that differently?
Yeah. So I don't actually. That's a great question. So the question is, in smart cold emailing tactic, how do you engage with somebody on social media before you email them? I don't engage in a message, so I won't like add them and then add them on LinkedIn and then message them. What I actually do is I engage them and just kind of make myself aware, like make them aware of me. And you're gonna have to do this manually and kind of figure out the rhythm. But I usually follow somebody on LinkedIn, Twitter, you can follow people on LinkedIn too, and then just start sharing their content, resharing, not all of their content, but some good stuff. And then a few days later, or wait a week, then cold email them, or then send an email. And oftentimes, they're just kind of aware of you, and that enough gets your open rates higher. And if you don't have the social profiles, if you just have the email list, you can actually easily enrich it. I forgot the exact company, but I can get back to you with the exact company of who actually does this for. Yeah.
Question about your Narrow software.
Yep.
How do you get such high growth rates using this software? Like in a nutshell, how does it work?
Yeah, so what Narrow does, the question is, how does Narrow work and how does it get high conversion rates? What Narrow does is essentially builds your Twitter following. So you can add a bunch of keywords, you can add websites, you can add people, and we'll start engaging. And engaging means following people, liking their stuff, and anyone that follows you, that's considered a conversion rate. Over time, we'll clean up kind of the things we did on your behalf and unfollow people and whatnot, but it's done kind of much later. So if you're at like an event, if you know there's industry websites that get a lot of shares, those are the ones you want to start to add as keywords. And I found people and websites and industry events help get the best conversion rates. Yeah. Yep.
So you started 4 companies, scaling up to 15,000 customers. When you're starting from scratch, how are you cheaply kind of hacking your way towards building large, engaged social communities? Are you buying followers, or what are your strategies for kind of starting that over each time?
Yeah. So the question is, how are you, when you're starting a company, how are you acquiring social followings? How are you building a community? Is that right? So unfortunately, it's not the cheapest. I don't buy followers. I actually have to build them because the buying, it just doesn't, it's great. It makes you feel good at night, but it doesn't do anything. So what I actually do is I do a lot of cold outreach. And I lead with content and create something of value. So the cheapest thing for me to create is, since I can write a bit, is I just write some content that's really targeting maybe some specific pain points of the users. This content is nothing about my company, has nothing to do with what I'm offering. It's just value and pain points and solutions to pain points for my target audience. And I'll just send a lot of cold emails. And I'll put a little plug and say, by the way, you should join our community, only when they start that conversation. And so what that does is I get 100, 200 people involved. And yes, this takes me a lot of outreach, but that initial part is really, really key because you get the right people involved and they'll help you grow your community. And so it takes about 100 to 200 people before you have any momentum, and you have to really work hard for that initial momentum, especially on Facebook groups and Slack or any channel where there's frequent communication. If it's an email list, you can kind of fake it, like you have a big list. Just talk to many instead of talking to one person.
All right. Thanks. That was awesome.